So with Rebel Heart Films, the classes that you are teaching across the country, you have a video or two that talk about what you're offering, and it shows a prior class or two, and you say that you feel that the studio system does not want the little guy to tell stories. How do we compete in a marketplace with such beautiful personal films as Obsolete is, and this other film that you're making, and others that we've seen, but how do we compete as filmmakers with franchises and sequels?
Could I just jump in right now and
Please
just say?
do.
You can't.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's lose the idea of competing.
Okay.
You're offering something completely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an offering. Okay.
Yeah, and I think, connecting with people, finding, meaningful connections with other human beings, and it's not about competing with studios. You're
Okay.
creating your own work and putting your heart into it and offering it out for people to share.
And there is an element of the fact that they want to keep the lion's share of the marketplace, and they don't want to allow anybody to come in and feed from that table. But the fact of the matter is that creativity has always found a way to rise to the top, and good filmmakers and good storytellers will find a way to rise to the top, and they don't want that to happen unless it's on their agenda, unless you're working for them. But the fact of the matter is that creativity and artists and writers, directors, they always find a way to out-create the problems or the obstacles that are put in front of them. And that, in essence, is the whole idea of independent filmmaking. You outcreate the obstacles in order to be able to still get across this very small independent stories that speak to people and that they really feel connected to. And that's something that comes from true artism. That's a...
And I think this is one of the things that's interesting. I feel like a lot of people are aware, studios don't hire very many women to direct movies. I think the rate last year was 7% of studio movies were directed by women. They don't hire people of color. The kinds of movies, the kind of stories they want to tell, or, again, maybe have a certain agenda or something. And so I feel like it's, it's just very important to me. I feel the other voices are heard, have the chance to be heard. It's very important for audiences to seek out those other voices and support them. People always talk about, well, we need more films by women. I'm like, well, you have to support them, It's that thing about being the change, and really endeavoring to give money to the projects that you feel, reflect your own values. I feel like right now there's an amazing possibility for independent filmmakers. It didn't even exist 5 years ago, never mind 10 years ago. For the first time, you can make a movie, and 5 years ago we were already in the place where you didn't need that much money to make a movie and make it look great. And 10 years ago that was impossible, let's just say that, right? Even if you shot a film, you used the latest digital technology, it just didn't look that great. 5 years ago, it looks amazing, and now it's amazing. You can shoot a film for really such a little amount of money, but really have it of an extremely high quality, visually and audially. So the next part of the puzzle, I think, for filmmakers was how do we distribute our work, And that's the thing that's kind of evolving right now, and that's really exciting, because there really are opening up platforms and opportunities for independent filmmakers that, again, didn't exist 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, you could make that movie, but it was what are you going to do with it now? Other than sort of I burn a bunch of DVDs and go out and sell them on the road or something, And so now with digital streaming, and this is just a revolution, there's the possibility that we can get our work out, and it's really about building the audiences and creating them. I think educating people, inspiring them, our friends, our families, exposing people to different kinds of films and encouraging them to be curious about different kinds of films, I find it fascinating. I don't know about you, but at school we spend a lot of time learning how to read books, and we're exposed to great literature, and it kind of blows my mind that we don't do that with films, that we don't introduce people to the history of cinema and teach them, really how to read a film and how to appreciate it on a different level. I feel like a lot of people still, there's these opportunities to just to grow audiences, you know, to bring them to more, you know, more exciting movies.
Playing devil's advocate for a moment though, do you really feel that the studio system does not want the little guy? Maybe they're just not interested in the films, not because they're not beautiful works of art, but because they feel they won't fill theater seats, they won't.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I think studios work from a bottom line, you know? Definitely. Like, I don't think they're sitting plotting how to keep the little guy out. You know, I mean, they're just businesses. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, you know, they have shareholders and they're just about making.
It's all about margins.
It's just about money.
Yeah,
It's not a power struggle. It's just.
It's
But
not
it is a power struggle in a different way, I think. And this is one of the interesting things, you know, because I feel like the films that they make, basically, they support the power structure as it exists, you know? So, for example, we were talking earlier about women in films, and not only the fact that so few women direct them, but also so few films are about women, right?
True.
And, you know, so I think, like, again, like, it's something like 15% of speaking parts were women.
Even though
you know?
50% of the audience out there is women.
And, you know, and I feel like studios, they don't, you know, because they have a certain agendas in place, and their priority is not to change the world. You know, their priority is not to make a more fair society. Their priority is to make money,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
So then I feel it's really up to, you know, again, individual filmmakers to make those changes. Are studios like sitting trying to keep you out? No. But do they care about trying to make films, you know, about minority groups or that reflect the world in a more fair way? They don't care. They want to make money.
Or they do allow a woman, let's say Unbroken, to direct, and then it's held up to, it seems like, unfair scrutiny. A little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how
Sure.
that happens.
Or
And they do allow a woman to direct who happens to be Angelina Jolie, one of the biggest movie stars in the world. You know, I would just like to point that out. It's
Sure.
like,
It's a built-in audience.
But,
You know.
but still held up to a
Yeah.
little bit of
Absolutely.
scrutiny
Absolutely.
that maybe is a little
Absolutely.
unfair.
It's
yeah.
for sure. And
And
then
this
the
happens
same
all the
with
time.
Ava DuVernay, who just did Selma. I
Sure.
mean, I guarantee that
Which is an independent film, though.
I guarantee that the critics who, you know, look at that film will be, you know, going through it with a fine-tooth comb, as opposed to had it been like, you know, a regular old, you know, guy.
I mean, the bottom line is right now, like, if you care about a certain kind of cinema, it's not going to be made through the studio system. You know, if you're into, like, generally speaking, you know, something that's like a little bit more experimental, or, you know, more female driven, that's more character based, in fact.
Yeah.
You know, the studios, as we're, you know, as we all know, are not really making those kind of films, and so you have to find a way to make it yourself outside of that system.
Yeah.